What up, though? What it do? What it do?
What up, what up, what up?
We are back at it. Episode 35 of Uncomfy Truths. Can't no hurricanes hold us back. No power outages. No elections. We're back at it again. We took our normal 2-week hiatus. Well, not really hiatus, but we usually do like every 2 weeks. So we're back at it again for episode 35. I'm your co-host, Conservative Brother Daily. Here are my co-hosts, Conspiracy Brother. How you doing out there, good sir?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Feeling good. We out here in Michigan, and we got got a lot to be excited about. We're a bit of sport. We're a fan of our Detroit sports teams. Some few, and Michigan is killing it right now, and we got Lions doing the damn thing as well. So we might have some Lions going to the Super Bowl. Knock on wood, but I'm excited about that. We got a lot of political topics to talk about too. We can also be excited about other things as well. Yeah, man. Let's get on into it. I know we're gonna have a little shorter show today. But once again, guys, you guys are watching Uncomfy Truths, and I'm just gonna do a quick plug. So, Conspiracy Brother, if you could share my screen, I'll just do the quick plug. Once again, you guys are watching.
We got none there joining us in the comments.
Oh, hey, surprise guest, what's going on? And she's gone. None there, come on through. Can't just pop in like that. All right, so this is Uncomfy Truths. You never know who might drop in. We're building a coalition, So once again, Uncomfy Truths, we're currently live streaming on YouTube as well as Rumble, and we're also on Odyssey. So definitely give us a follow, share, subscribe, find this content informative. We're also going to be leveling up next year. We're going to start, we've been kind of talking about different programs and ways we could get shorter clips. Yeah, we see you on here. Yeah, okay. Oh, we see you. Okay, you're commenting. All right. Thanks for watching. I didn't know. Looked like you were in the panel right next to us. But it was just a comment. Okay. But yeah, feel free to follow us on YouTube as well as Rumble, and we're also on Odyssey. And yeah, we're just trying to grow this thing out. I gotta organize and get some things together as far as like ways you can contribute. I gotta update the Give Send Go. Then we're gonna, get some more things together as far as releasing shorter clips of the show and to generate more traffic. So appreciate those of you guys that are watching. Small but mighty audience, but do what we got to do. So let's go ahead, Conspiracy Brother. Just dive right into our first topic: Trump cabinet picks. As of today, this recording, Sunday, November 24th, 2024, all the picks are done. So his, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or, however you want to call it, Trump has his cabinet. It's in the bag. They just released this a few hours ago. Fox News, I'm kind of impartial and different to. New York Times, I ain't going nowhere near it. But we can really quick actually go through here. I don't have a complete grasp on every single pick. We'll see how USA Today bouts out, but we can kind of at least go through here and see who he picked. All right, so first pick we have. Oh, sorry about that. First pick we have is hedge fund manager Scott Bessent, picked as Treasury Secretary. For the sake of time, I'll just read all the picks, and then we can kind of go back through the article and kind of nitpick it. If I could get this ad off my screen. There we go. All right, next we have Lori Chavez DeRimmer, tapped to lead the Labor Department, Republican out of Oregon. Next we have Jeanette Nishwat, picked as U.S. Surgeon General. She was previously a Fox News medical contributor. We have Marty Makary, picked to lead FDA. Dave Weldon to lead CDC. So Marty Makary is a pancreatic surgeon as commissioner of the FDA, and then Dave Weldon is a former congressman who's been tasked to head up the CDC as the director. Next, we have Russell Vought to oversee management and budget. Russell Vought to oversee. He served as the OMB director during the first administration, following stints as deputy and acting OMB director. Next, we have Scott Turner, picked to lead housing and urban planning. This was previously Dr. Carson's position over at HUD, I believe. Yep, oversee HUD department. He was a Texas motivational speaker and part of the America First Policy Institute think tank. Here are the other picks for other key administrations. We covered before. Susie Wiles, who has some sort of couple big pharma ties, is a little troubling. As the chief of staff, Pam Bondi, who was selected as the attorney general, who swapped out for Matt Gaetz, who withdrew his nomination. That's not true. USA Today already capping. Who withdrew his nomination amid allegations of sexual conduct. Like, literally, Sonny Holston had to read a legal note on The View when she tried to spin that mess. So, Secretary of State, I'd say Marco Rubio. This is the one that I think got the most sort of controversy as far as Marco's pretty establishment. There's some things we don't like about him, but he's going to be the next Secretary of State. I got a few things to say on that. Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, great pick. Elise Stefanik, who's pretty radical Zionist. Don't really rock with that one. Ambassador for United Nations. We got our man RFK Jr. Once again, there's a few radicals and Zionists, or just kind of ones that are just default pro-Israel. That's going to be a bit of an issue, but we're going to discuss all that. But RFK is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, so him cracking down on FDA and a lot of things they're putting in the food and the water, I do like that choice. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who was a former Fox News contributor. Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Oh, okay, daughter of Vince McMahon, I assume, WWE co-founder, or is that the wife? Wife or the daughter? I'm not sure.
That's the wife.
The wife, okay. Oh, I didn't know she co-founded it with Vince. Okay. Howard Lutnick is the Secretary of Commerce. current Cantor Fitzgerald CEO. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. He was a congressman from Long Island, New York. We got Director of the CIA. John Ratcliffe. I don't know a whole lot about the guy, but he served as Director of Intelligence, National Intelligence at the end of the first Trump term. Secretary of Homeland, Kristi Noem. It's a hard, so basically she got to give up the governor role from the sound of it. Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum, who previously ran as a Republican nominee. Secretary of Department of Affairs, Doug Collins. Secretary of Department of Energy, Chris Wright. Let me just get through the rest of these. We can discuss it. Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Stephen Miller from the first administration. Border Czar, Tom Homan. I do rock with those two choices. Stephen Miller was early Trump advisor in the early years. Tom Homan, he's pretty, he's what we need. We need some tough love on these borders. So tough love, Tom Homan. National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, had to be somebody. Mike Huckabee. White House Counsel, William McGinley. U.S. Attorney for the 7th District of New York, Jay Clayton. Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. White House Communications Director, Trump, named Stephen Choen to be his communication director. White House Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. Federal FCC Chairman, Brendan Carr. Center of Medicare and Medicaid, Dr. Oz. And yeah, that's it. All right, so that's a mouthful. So, Conspiracy Brother, I'd like to go ahead and get your thoughts. So we can kind of nitpick through different people. And then I got this other thing I wanted to share related to some cabinet picks. But yeah, go right ahead, Conspiracy Brother. What are your general thoughts on the cabinet picks and anybody specifically?
So I was listening to Scott Ritter talk about the cabinet. And he was pretty optimistic about certain things, even with Gates. He was optimistic about Gates' appointment, even if they didn't appoint him. He called it a recess appointment versus whatever the other Senate appointment. That he could still get Gates in on the acting director. I think you have like 100 and something days or 200 and something days that you can be an acting appointment, and then you can do it another one consecutively. And then, he was saying that was more than enough time to do the kind of things he needed to do, but obviously that didn't go the way that Scott at least expected it would go. Then I was watching something today. I'm drawing a blank. I think it was the Duran. Might have been the Duran or George Galloway.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about Pam Bondi and how it almost seemed like maybe the move from Matt Gaetz to Pam Bondi might have been like the intention all along. Because she's more of a traditional attorney general candidate. She doesn't have any obvious reasons why she would be disqualified and that she couldn't get the Senate votes. But I mean, even the fact that, there was talk that Matt Gaetz wouldn't get the Senate votes and the Republicans control 53 seats and she needs 50 seats. Or they need 50 seats or 51 to be confirmed. That's a problem that I think illustrates a lack of control within the party. If Trump can't get his own base of support or his own senators to support his candidates for appointment. Scott was also talking about, like, even for Marco Rubio, that even if Marco Rubio is particularly anti-Russia or, anti-Iran or anti-China, that Trump being a strong executive would be able to rein him in, basically. And so Rubio would have to be the mouthpiece for a Trump presidency, more so than he would be able to have the free reign to make policy decisions like you see Blinken doing right now. I don't know. I was just watching George Galloway before we got on our show, a clip of him talking to Colonel Douglas McGregor. And Colonel McGregor said he almost thinks that Trump ran again with the intention of proving, that he was the rightful winner in 2020. And so, more so as a way to vindicate himself than it was that he maybe that he was ready for the fight that would come with him being president again, And so I don't know. I don't like the Marco Rubio pick. Hope it's better in the line of what Scott Ritter was talking about than what I think. I don't like the Elise Stefanik pick at all.
Yeah.
Because basically everyone in our government is a Zionist to some degree, but she's the kind of person who, and this is not just an example. It's not hyperbole. She would have you. She would have American citizens punished for protesting against Israel in a way that she would not if you were protesting against the United States. And that's weird to me, that we have so many people in our government who are so attached to a foreign country that they express or display more deference to this country than they do to the country they supposedly represent. I'm not sure much about Lee Zeldin. The name is familiar, and I know he's from Long Island, but it was something that went on with him, and I forget what. Recently,
Lee Zeldin, what position is he appointed to?
He's going to be. It was. You scroll up. It was. It was. Wait. Yeah. I think it was education. I would have rather had Tulsi as a Secretary of State. I think that would have been a good position for her. This lady here, Laura Chavez Deramer or whatever. I was actually doing a little bit of reading about her, and it seems like she may be not a bad pick.
Lori Chavez?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Deramer or however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, the Teamsters wanted her. The Teamsters thought that she was the only Republican or one of the only Republicans who actually voted to support the PRO Act. And so, the Teamsters, they lobbied to have her be the labor secretary. So she might not be a bad pick.
Okay.
And so, RFK, I think, I'd like him to be where he is, but I was watching the Jimmy Dore video today, and they were saying that looks like he's going to get a lot of pushback from the pharmaceutical companies and the food manufacturers. And so this is the thing, is Trump prepared for a fight to get the people he selected across the finish line to be able to actually do what he is claiming he wants to do, or is he just going to kind of roll over to placate, because it still seems like some of these people that he's appointed have some neocon leanings. Who was it? Well, Stefanik, definitely. Marco Rubio. Was some other people, but I'm drawing a blank now. Pete Hegseth, he was in the military. He's a retired military guy. The Secretary of Defense is supposed to be a civilian position, so theoretically, you're not supposed to be a military active military member, and there's I think it's a 10-year cool-off period from being in the military to being the Secretary of Defense. So, there's been a lot.
Maybe he has that 10-year gap because he did serve in the Army.
Yeah, I think he's got more than 10 years.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have wanted to make a big deal out of, his appointment. And is he more qualified than Lloyd Austin? Is he more qualified than what was the other guy? What was his name under Bush? Forget his name under Bush. I forget who it was under Obama.
For Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, he wore the glasses. He wore the Donald Rumsfeld. Yeah, is he more? Is he less qualified than Donald Rumsfeld? Is he less qualified than Lloyd Austin? You know what I'm saying? What is the criteria that you need for a person to be selected for these roles? Like I said, some of them seem like legitimate outside, and others seem like they're more I don't know, they seem to fit right alongside what they were already doing. The CIA director, I remember him because I think he worked with Devin Nunes or something, that congressman who resigned, and Trump appointed him to something. So I don't know, it's we'll see how things go. It seems, he appointed Sebastian Gorka to be like a policy director for the National Security Department or something.
Oh yeah, he's super kind of.
Well, he's already come out saying that. Yeah, he's already come out saying, as far as negotiations with Russia, that Donald Trump is going to tell Putin that he's going to invest in more in. If Putin doesn't negotiate a ceasefire or an end to this conflict, he's going to fund Ukraine even more and give them more weapons and more money. And so it's just weird, that you still have these kind of people around him. I don't know what Sebastian Gorka's qualifications are. I tried to look him up. I know he wrote a book, and I know he's worked in the government before, but he's a Hungarian British, and he's got a British accent.
Right.
And so it's just like, I get optically and whatever that you don't necessarily want to have a complete pullout immediately. But I would tell Vladimir Putin, hey, dude, look, do what you want, bro. I'm out of here. Because the American people voted Trump in as a rejection of, funding foreign conflicts and foreign engagements, because we as a people are suffering at home due to high prices and inflation and a bad border. And so, that's to negotiate a withdrawal or negotiate it into this conflict in Ukraine, one in which we don't really need to be involved in, without anything, with anything other than saying, hey, as the United States, we're just going to stop funding this and it'll be over, which is something Trump knows because he's already said this before himself. It's a strange thing for your deputy national security director or whatever to say, or policy director. And it's not a good sign. I mean, Russia just launched the Oreshnik, which is, they claim it's not an intercontinental ballistic missile. They say it's a mid-range, but it travels at about 3,000 kilometers a second, Mach 10 speed. So Mach 10 would be 10 times the speed of sound through air. So it's basically not visible with the naked eye. And so you can't intercept it. It can go from like east of Moscow, like southeast of Moscow, I'm not quite sure how many miles, to London in 20 minutes. And that's a pretty long distance. I think that's 2 time zones, might be 3 time zones from looking at the map. And it can get to Germany in 12 minutes. And so we have no way to, we're on the brink of World War III. And, you have these sadistic, pedophile, lizard people, or whatever you want to call them, who are in charge of leading this country, and they're they're steering us into World War III, and a lot of us, we might forget, but they all have bunkers or whatever, so they think they'll be safe. They've got these bunkers miles and miles and miles under the ground. We know about the bunkers under Denver Airport. Denver is supposed to be the headquarters for the new capital when nuclear war breaks out. The continuance of governance program or protocol. So as much as they try to say these vast networks of underground tunnels all over America is nothing to be worried about, they're prepared. The elites are prepared to live underground for as long as they need to after nuclear fallout. And so we'll all suffer here.
Leave us high and dry, because their priority, it's like set mandate, is to protect the government officials and keep the government running.
Joe Biden.
So everybody was just like, "Oh no, government take care of it. They'll come save us." Like, did you learn anything from East Palestine, Ohio, Lahaina wildfires, Helene, North Carolina? Don't get me started.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, Joe Biden, who's 80-some years old, and even if he lived 10 more years, so what? Has essentially, signed all of our futures away because, he didn't get to be president again. And so, we're not upset enough for me. I'm trying to be calm about it, but that's where I'm at.
Hey, I feel you. Let me see here. All right, let me share this. I thought this was kind of interesting topic for Trump cabinet picks. I think 2 really good people worth anybody, conspiracy brother, anyone else giving a follow. The Health Ranger Report, and he's a guy that was banned from Facebook, Twitter, even before Alex Jones was. I could try sharing it again. It doesn't seem to be loading, but
okay.
Brightion Social. So he's definitely worth the follow, because he does really good commentary where he does like, give Trump credit, give him shit when he's doing stuff wrong. He's doing kind of the radical Zionist sort of stuff. So yeah, I did share it again. So I Bush, if you could put up my screen share, I wanted to share this email. I think I got a little internet issue. Can you still hear me, conspiracy brother?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't see the screen share is having a problem.
Okay, let me try it again. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I hear you.
Hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me try again. Had a little signal fluke. Okay. All right. So where did I cut out at?
It didn't really cut out on my end. I heard you. But you were talking about the Brighteon and here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying 2 really good follows, especially in this Trump 2.0 term we're heading into, is Mike Adams. Much as I'm happy Trump won over Kamala. All right, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we're still not going to keep the foot off the gas of holding Trump to the fire and holding, this administration to the fire. So Mike Adams, I definitely recommend everybody give a follow. He's over at Health Ranger Report on Brighteon.com. So that's kind of like Brighteon's like kind of like a Odyssey, Rumble. It's like his own decentralized platform. And then this other guy, his name is John Bush. So John Bush is he's another guy. He's been doing this conference the past few years called the Greater Reset. The centralized system becoming decentralized. And so he's doing it's gonna be his 5th or 6th year of doing the Greater Reset. So it's like his answer to the Great Reset Davos conference they have every January. So this is a really good blog where I think about 2 weeks ago almost, where some of the cabinet picks were starting to come out. So I just wanted to kind of read this. This is some good additional perspective. Then we can move on to I'll get your final thoughts, Conspiracy Brother. Then we can move on to the next topic. Or if you want to give your thoughts as I'm going through it, because it's a little bit of a long read, you can I can stop and you can kind of give your initial thoughts. So I figure I want to read this. This is once again from John Bush over at the Greater Reset. So let's go ahead and so John Bush over the Greater Reset. It's been almost a week since the U.S. presidential election, and many freedom lovers that voted for Trump are still celebrating. We did it. We got our guy in, they exclaim. I bet they're still riding on cloud 9 right now. So this is as of, I think, November 11th when he wrote this, when I got this email. If you are one of those people, enjoy your victory lap, but don't under any circumstances rest on your laurels. I'll be very happy to give Trump credit for doing good things if and when he does over the next 4 years. But I sure ain't sitting around waiting for anything to happen. We activators, Freedom Cell members, and Freedom Cell is also his other decentralized network that he kind of runs, similar to what Mike Adams running Brighteon. We activators, Freedom Cell members, and exiters and builders are buckling down to make things happen. I just want to make sure you get this message because for many of you, much of the election cycle was about avoiding the things you don't want to see happen rather than going after the things you do want. Case in point, the Trump campaign and the Kamala campaign ran on stopping the other one from getting in and destroying our democracy and country. I followed Trump for many years and have read The Art of the Deal, watched a half dozen documentaries on the guy, and have studied entrepreneurs and marketing gurus that have also studied him. What you quickly find out about Trump is that he doesn't have principles. He's not an intellectual. Once again, all this in the blog, in the email, I necessarily don't agree with. But at the same time, it's good to kind of take in these other rational dissenting opinions that isn't just MSNBC, Trump's Hitler, orange man bad, racist, sexist, So this has a little more nuance, and we got to be willing to take in, different opinions like this. So what you quickly find out about Trump is that he doesn't have principles. He's not an intellectual. Ideas don't matter much to him. He just likes winning and says as much. I think that's one of the reasons why he made so many bad appointments in his last administration. He picked smart guys who screwed him over because he trusted the experts like Anthony Fauci and Mike Pompeo. That's facts. And so far this time, it's around it's more of the same. Trump has picked Susie Wiles as his chief of staff. She's a lobbyist for Pfizer, Bill Gates' Gavi Vaccine Alliance, and the United Nations, whose firm Mercury LLC has a parent company that is a World Economic Forum partner. He selected Brian Hook, a staunch supporter of Israel with major ties to defense contractors, to head his Department of State transition. And once again, Conspiracy Brother, if you want to jump in at any time while I'm reading this, feel free. And because it is a long read. And just today, it was announced as of November 11th, it was announced that his pick for ambassador to the UN is Rep. Elise Stefanik, a hardcore warmonger that believes the U.S. government should supply Israel with what it needs when it needs it without conditions. I remember watching that video. She said just that. So much for draining the swamp. The truth is, Trump used to be a New York Democrat. He's flip-flopped on many issues. Both Trump and the Harris campaigns were rooted in a reactionary paradigm. We have to stop that. We're against this. She's that. He's this, and so on. The danger here is that being in a reactionary state makes it easier to play off your emotions. It's easy to leverage your fear, distrust, and anger to support a movement without realizing you're helping to push forward an agenda you wouldn't normally support. The predator class, the oligarchs, globalists, banksters, and technocrats have their fingerprints all over the Trump presidency. Peter Thiel, a steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group, funded Trump's campaign in 2016 and has bankrolled the career and the political rise of J.D. Vance. Trump has wittingly and unwittingly played right into their hands. For example, biometric surveillance at border crossings, which I identify as a key technology for ushering in the technocratic New World Order, were advanced by Trump in his last administration to curb illegal immigration, and it will be pushed even further in his upcoming administration. Whenever, see how long this is. Okay, I'm gonna probably read up until yeah, right here. Yeah, because he kind of starts pushing his program. All right. Whenever you fly internationally or see biometric face scanning kiosks, you could thank Trump for that. But on an even bigger scale, the predator class has already totally co-opted the government. One of the key shapers of foreign policy already told us how they did it. In short, the House of World Order will be built from the bottom up rather than the top down. It will look like a booming, buzzing confusion, to use William James' famous description of reality, but an end run of national sovereignty, eroding it piece by piece, will accomplish much more than the old-fashioned frontal assault. From Richard N. Gardner, The Hard Road of World Order, Foreign Affairs, Volume 52, Number 3, page 558. True independent researchers such as Whitney Webb, shout out to Whitney Webb, she does great stuff. She's been on Jimmy Dore, Sabby Sabs. She's definitely great at exposing what the Republicans and Democrats are in bed with. Derek Braz, James Corbett, and others have done amazing work uncovering the ways that secret cabals have taken over national governments and institutions. They know how to circumvent the presidency and the entire federal government through mega corporations, big tech, smart cities, banks, credit card companies, and more. So regardless of how another Trump presidency will impact our freedom, for our prosperity, we have to remain super vigilant for the future. There's one issue in particular that I think has flown under the radar over last year, and the most important issue is the growth of CBDCs. Trump has claimed he's against CBDCs. That's good, but it doesn't matter. So let's give him credit there. The forces behind the CBDC agenda have figured out a new and clever way to create a CBDC sneak attack. They're smuggling CBDCs in through a back door, and most people have no idea what was happening. But this agenda is going to take off in 2025 under Trump's presidency. If Trump isn't in on it, he'll probably see this plot as just good business rather than what it is, a secret plot to push CBDCs into the public by circumventing Congress and the presidency altogether. This is explosive, and myself and Derek and other handful of others and few are paying attention to this. Another man who's seeing this agenda for what it is Glenn Metter, one of the greatest voices in freedom and personal privacy. All right, so after this, he kind of plugs his CBDC opt-out webinar. And Conspiracy Brother, I can send you this after the show. But yeah, I just wanted to get these general thoughts.
Okay, thanks.
What's that?
I said thanks. I definitely want it. I said thanks. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. So so like I said, I mean, this is Uncomfy Truths for a reason. There's no one president or politician that could solve all our problems. Trump's no savior. Democrats aren't saviors. Republicans aren't saviors. So we have to always be very hard on even people we think are maybe the lesser evil or maybe better than Kamala. But I'm gonna still be hard and put in and hold Trump's feet to the fire. So John Bush is just somebody who's doing that, or really he's just knowing that, hey, regardless of Trump or Kamala, there are some things that we're heading towards. So, Conspiracy Brother, if you had any thoughts on this, I thought this was like a good conversation based off of the cabinet picks, which at the end of the day is, a small piece of the puzzle. But any thoughts you had on this before we, go on to the next topic?
Well, yeah, I like that the information and the breakdown that he gave, because I forgot that about his chief of staff, that she was a lobbyist for one of the, and we talked about
Elise Stefanik.
Right. And then he was still actually considering Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo. It's such a weird thing, given the way Nikki Haley actually treated him after the fact. And again, I'm not a Trump supporter. This isn't like some big, I have some vested interest because, I voted for him and whatever. But I'm trying to understand just the calculations that he's making.
Mm-hmm.
The Gray Zone does a pretty good job of breaking down some of his appointments too.
Yeah.
Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate really go in detail about the picks. I haven't really got a chance to look at all of them yet because they go over Pete Hegseth or Hegseth.
They're like 2-3 hour long shows too.
Yeah, but yeah, what I thought this kind of, I never vocalized it because people say I'm a downer. Sometimes my wife jokes about that people don't like to talk to me because I'm a downer. But you vote for the lesser of two evil. If that's how you vote for the lesser of two evils. And then you look at how through the various candidates, through the various presidents, they've been able to implement certain policies that are beneficial to the other side, or to the aims of whoever pulls the strings in the background. And they may, on the surface, they may appear to be beneficial to one side, but they cannot be implemented by the side that they would theoretically be beneficial to, because the country and the Congress and everybody would be, hyper vigilant and against it. An example of that would be NAFTA. The Republicans couldn't pass NAFTA because everyone is suspicious of the Republican Party being anti-worker. So the Republicans would have never been able to get it done, and the business interests would have never been able to get it done. So what do? They have Bill Clinton and Joe Biden's in the Senate, and all these people pass NAFTA. And so you don't get any pushback because the Democrats are doing it, and the working class supports the Democratic Party, and you have a Democratic administration. No big deal. Or like they'll talk about Nixon in China, right? Because Nixon is the one who opened up, normal relations with China, or whatever the phrase they use. And they say Nixon was the only one who could do that because he was such a red baiter anti-communist that nobody else could be taken seriously about getting that done. And I believe it was Time magazine. The cover was a drawing of Nixon on a boat heading, it would technically be westward for China. And the title, I remember saying this in school. I had a teacher who either had the actual book on her wall, or she had like a picture she had printed off a computer. But it says, "To Peking for peace." And so in this same instance, I wondered if the mass support surrounding Donald Trump, the fact that he got to Congress, the fact that he has the courts, would that be the perfect opportunity for the people who control everything in the background to get what they wanted with the least amount of pushback, and I don't know. I mean, that's yet to be seen. We've heard him talk about some things, and we've heard people mention some things, but yet to be seen. But that's something I'm always cautiously aware of in the way that he does things and the way that the situation goes. You know, as I talked about in our group, there is a rightward shift in our country, and I'm speaking about it in the traditional sense, and not in the more trivial way right and left are talked about nowadays. But when you think about the Patriot Act that was passed by George Bush, when you think about the real ID requirements that was passed by George Bush, indefinite detention through the Patriot Act was passed by George Bush. It was extended or codified under Obama. And so when you look at the way the country moves and the things that are happening and have happened, a wide open border is going to make more people around the country receptive to heavy-handed action from police or other types of law enforcement or National Guard or the military in a way that is dangerous to American citizens. When you look at the biometric entry information that you find at the border that, you know, Trump was, supportive of, that has negative, long-term negative ramifications for American citizens. And so what happens, and you look at George Soros, and I always wonder, what is his objective? But if his objective is to make things in the country so bad that eventually, and so, you know, I liberal, and I use liberal not in the modern, you know, political, but I'm saying liberal as far as just free and open, you know, the tendency to be prone to excess. When I say liberal, you know, the liberal ways in which policies are passed or the way that policies are enforced in the world today, is that the intention to shift the country more rightward, you know, right under our, and have us ask for it, you know, have the majority of Americans ask for this kind of thing, because, you know, real ID, the reason it's taken so long to be implemented is because it violates, or it is at least has been argued that it violates the Constitution as it pertains to a national identification system, right? And so all these things we have to understand that we don't get to, or we should not be willing to give up our freedoms, our rights, our protections, even if it means, you know, that we are handling some other issue that we find to be grave, serious, or pressing in that moment, right? And simultaneous to that, we also have to understand, right, how these same people are getting us into a, because this is just a really important thing for me, into a direct conflict with a nuclear superpower, and that is Russia. And they're also trying to, you know, create the conditions for a war with China simultaneous to that. And then they want to have a conflict with Iran, who is also working to have a nuclear capability when it comes to their defense. So it's you know, we're in a bad spot.
Yeah, definitely. Great commentary as far as like us making sure that, like you said, like Patriot Act, 9/11, this crisis happened. It's the classic. They manufacture the problem so they can kind of bring in the solution, and how there's people on both sides that kind of can have their hand in it in the backroom deals. Hey, you do this, I'm gonna tap on this person's shoulder. He's gonna look this way. You grab it out of his pocket. Then you tap his shoulder. He's gonna turn around. I'm gonna grab it out of his other pocket. You know, so this is the game we see played. And once again, I think Trump's in on some of it, and other things he's clueless about. But at the end of the day, we just have to kind of stay vigilant, regardless of what administration's in office, and look from a top-down, big picture standpoint. What is the agenda that the uniparty at the top that controls both parties is up to? And, you know, some things that Trump's going to do that I ain't going to like. There's going to be some things he's going to do I am going to like. But we got to keep in mind what the globalists are doing, and we got to hedge against whatever they're doing that nobody else is paying attention to, regardless of who's in the Oval Office. So yeah, definitely great point to drive that home. All right, cool. Moving forward, next topic, y'all. Once again, you guys are listening to Uncomfy Truths. You can follow us on Rumble as well as YouTube. So YouTube, Rumble, YouTube. Feel free to subscribe, like, share, and we got a lot going on. So we're gonna get to the FEMA scandal. So let's hop right in here. This broke out about a couple weeks ago, but obviously in the wake of the Hurricane Helene as well as Hurricane Milton, or I think Milton was the name, yeah. So apparently FEMA has gotten these directives from some of the officials at FEMA. I think there was one official FEMA. I think she either resigned or got fired, but it said literally in the memo, like, hey, skip these Trump supporter houses. If you see a Trump sign, keep going. So this isn't a conspiracy like some of the outlets, of course, are trying to spin it. This was confirmed. So I think it looks like Florida's looking to sue them. It's coming from NPR. So NPR, of course, is just defending everything, they can. So, more culture war stuff. But yeah, conspiracy brother, I want to get your thoughts on this. Kind of doesn't surprise me at this point, just the level of bureaucratic corruption. I don't think anybody lost their life over this. I'm sure, they're going to get some sort of restitution. But yeah, conspiracy brother, your thoughts on this fortunate situation. Unfortunate, but not surprising.
Yeah, I think the lady who is responsible for the decision, I think didn't she say that the reason that she didn't have people go to the Trump supporters' houses is not because they were Trump supporters necessarily, but that they were having conflicts with the people at Trump support. It's like she tried to clean it up somehow and make it seem
Wait,
like.
what did she say? What was her?
It was like her excuse was not that they were Trump supporters, and so we're not going to help them. But when they were going to Trump supporters' houses, they were being difficult. Either they didn't want the help or they were making it difficult to get the help. That was something she was trying to say. So I mean,
yeah, if you got some video, audio evidence of that, but how can you even once again throwing like, okay, even if that was the case with maybe one or two of them, how are you just going to say, well, I'm just going to the entire group, we're going to group that entire group together. Like, what type of,
it's
like, wow. I didn't even hear about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so, it's one of those things where it looks bad on the administration and everybody involved, because it seems more and more like you have a personal vendetta against American citizens who have an opposing political point of view. And again, my conspiracy brain starts to spin a little bit when I see these kinds of things, because it makes me wonder if this is some giant plan to corral people into one side of the political perspective, nefariously, because but yeah, I mean, it's I don't. It's one of those things that you think wouldn't actually happen, but when you understand the history of this country, it makes total sense that they would do this to somebody of a different political ideology or whatever you want to call it. But it's crazy that we're giving billions of dollars to foreign countries, giving billions of dollars to illegal immigrants, and to American citizens, you're only giving them $750, and then if they don't have the right political beliefs, you don't give them anything.
You just skip right past their house. Like, oh, no, leave them alone. And I get also your point about, like, there are certain things where people just want to get riled up politically. The one thing that kind of gets me is like a lot of these Republicans, even like a Byron Donalds or the one chick Nancy Mace, or like even Rand Paul. As much as I agree with them on a share of stances. Where is the accountability from all these House hearings? Whether you got Fauci, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene being all sassy, talking about I saw you wearing a mask at a baseball game, and I showed there's like these videos that come out like MTG destroys Fauci during hearing, or the CDC director goes in front of. So you get more of this political theater where, yeah, you get the grilling, and like, yeah, if I was in the room with so and so, I grill them the same way. But what happens? Where's the accountability? Where are the charges against Fauci? Where are the charges against all these other people brought forth from different corruption and scandals? But it seems like all we get is like, ooh, a Republican goes up there and ooh, Nancy Mace destroys so and so from the CD, on whatever the issue is, where it's just more political theater. Where, okay, what are you guys doing? Why aren't there being charges? Where are these Republican AGs starting to send in indictments? Are we going to be indicting half these people on the left that were doing these crimes against Republicans the past 3-4 years? I would love to see that. I don't believe in the whole lawfare amnesty. Like, no lawfare amnesty. We need to open up an investigation, including everybody. Come after everybody. So that's what I think. It's just, you see the theatrics, like, okay, what are they trying to stir here? Because I know this House hearing where so and so, even if I agree with him, he destroys whoever was on the stand. I know they're not going to be brought up with charges, and they're just going to be doing what they're doing next week. That's kind of the thing that pisses me off. Like, it's just more theatrics, even from the side that I may agree with a little more. Like, where's the accountability? So that's all I got. All right, y'all.
Well,
yeah.
I just want to say, because I like the point you made, but I also want to say to that, when you actually go down and you see the way Trump says, "Oh, I just want to move forward."
Yeah, no.
And it's like, bro, you won by a large margin. Nobody in the world wants to see you move forward. We want to see retribution. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the other thing with Trump. It's got kind of like, I think the guy Andy Frisella from the Real AF podcast, I think deep down, even though Trump kind of, he has the side of a businessman, art of the deal, hard negotiator. I think deep down he does have this soft side where he does forgive people, or he has like this tendency to forgive. And it's kind of like, hey, did you forget what just happened to you the last 2-3 years? And how, like, if it happens to you, it can happen to us. Like, it's like top on down lawfare, So yeah, I think it's good for us to kind of, because even like what we mentioned earlier about Mike Pompeo, they had like the whole Stop Pompeo movement. Dave Smith, a lot of people were a big part of that. And I think a lot of that was the pressure. We turned the pressure on him. Like, don't you dare even think about Nikki Haley or Mike Pompeo. So I think largely that sort of public pressure and that backlash works. So we got to turn the pressure up on Trump. Like, hey, don't bring in some of those neocons. It's not gonna work all the time, but it works some of the time. So a little pressure is healthy. All right, so here we go. So this right here, I don't think we need to go into reading, but yeah. So basically, obviously, since the Trump re-election, there's been a big explosion of what they call fourth wave feminism, fourth wave feminism, and that is kind of under the cloak of this 4B movement. The 4 no's: no dating, no sex, no marriage, no childbearing, shave your head, dye your hair blue, or shave it off. And we're just seeing this. And I've talked about this, like TikTok, and even I think Candace Owens coined this. TikTok is a 24/7 televised mental institution. I'm pretty sure, like, well, the woke culture stuff. Once again, they're good on, like, calling out Israel and things like that. But overall, before the whole Gaza conflict, for the most part, when the conservatives are still getting censored, it was a 80-90% left-wing loony bin. And it just exploded since the Trump re-election, where you get, I don't know how many videos we watched last time, Conspiracy Brother, with Pastor Green, one of our guests, of all these women just melting down and, oh my God, just screaming and shouting. And it's like, hey, it's free speech. You can do what you want, but I don't think you're thinking long term about this. The internet's forever. Are you gonna apply for a job? Do you want to start a family one day? And are you just looking for that attention, that dopamine hit, and you're just following whatever the woke cult thinks is reasonable? So what we get now is this 4B movement, which I'm sure was a thing before the Trump re-election. It was probably in smaller circles, but now everybody's talking about it now, and how it's kind of fused with this fourth wave of feminism. So yeah, Conspiracy Brother, your thoughts? I think if anything, you know what? Whoever my future wife is, I know who not to look for. So if you got the bald head and you screaming down the street, I know who not to approach. So if anything, it makes it easier for us to point out who's crazy, and not like I'm like, good, bro, and I just walk the other way. But Conspiracy Brother, whatever thoughts you want to give on this interesting fourth wave feminism, 4B movement. Once again, I'm not totally against feminism. I think there are aspects of traditional feminism that I wouldn't say I agree with. I think a big part of feminism, I think, was to divide the home, get the women out working, the fathers working, the child's has a lack of parenting or oversight. So I think there is a dark undertone to feminism. But once again, I'm not going to tell a woman you can't work or you can't do this like it's like a 1950s husband. But I do think there's an underlying history to feminism that a lot of people aren't aware of. Just how I know I'm kind of rambling, but just how one of the early propaganda pieces of feminism was smoking. They were wondering in the 1950s and 40s, how do we get women to smoke? And once again, at the time, a lot of women were stay-at-home housewives, so they marketed as freedom. Like, have the freedom, take your freedom back and smoke. So a lot of those early days with smoking, they were targeting women. And
well, yeah, it was actually illegal for women to smoke. And
really?
So what they said is, like, stick it to the man, show them, and they call them freedom sticks.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So the same way that they've marketed like this cancer stick is your freedom, smoke, cut, stick it to the man, smoke. It's kind of evolved into kill your babies, like in your legacy, kill, abort your baby at 8-9 months. That's the new freedom. So they've kind of taken one thing that's really killing our women and replaced it with another. But yeah, Conspiracy Brother, you go ahead if you want to give your thoughts.
When you actually look at the statistics, less people are having children anyway in America, and less people are getting married in America. And there are various reasons for that. It's I think as far as Korea, they have a declining birth rate. I think their birth rate is like so low that they estimate that their population will hit zero by like 2050 or something. I know they're saying Japan's is like that too. And so, hey, if you think the 4B movement is for you, go for it. You know what I'm saying? I think
knock yourself out.
Even in Korea, I think their society is really set up in such a way. Like, even in Japan, they're not having kids because it costs so much. Like, get the term for it, but like in Japan, they work unpaid overtime. And there's like their whole system is set up like you don't go home until your boss goes home, and he doesn't go home until his boss goes home, and like you just follow that chain of command, and so everybody just stays and works all this unpaid overtime. And then, like, you know, it's exponentially expensive to live there, and so they're not having children, and they're not really hospitable to foreigners, so there's not a lot of immigration coming, and even if there is, there's not a lot of immigrants who reproduce with Japanese people, and so it's a bit of a different situation. Obviously, you'll find some foreigners who marry Japanese and vice versa. I mean, you know, hey, do what you want to do. If you think in the next 4 years the world's going to be in a better place for you to get married and have children or whatever, go for it. You know, be free to do whatever you want to do. The joke that I had, though, is that most of these women won't be able to actually do a 4B movement because they all have OnlyFans. So they're gonna, or they do some other kind of prostitution work. So they're not going to be able to get away with not interacting with men.
You know,
if they shave their hair off and they be, huh?
I know you're about. Yeah, you finish up. I was. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you know, I think a lot of people, we just, and this is why sometimes I wonder if we're in the Matrix. Like people have no original thought, and they just repeat the same things over and over again, and they do it in such a way that it's like, man, you know, like, is this real or is this like a simulation? Like, is everybody just saying this over and over and over? Is there anything, you know, behind this? So, you know, whatever. Let them do what they want to do. Let people do what they want to do. If somehow the election of Donald Trump is so much worse than the previous 4 years, then I think we have bigger problems that we need to address because he's just been completely delusional.
It's the orange man bad. And just how I call out people who want to put one politician, one political party as their Lord and Savior who's going to save them. On the flip side, if you give one orange man that much power, that much rent-free space in your head, you are really no more foolish than the super ultra MAGA voter who will just follow Trump over a cliff. And from both extremes, you putting that much power, that much control someone has over you either way, you know? So I think at the end of the day, a lot of people just don't have the long-term view. They're not in this race, this race of life. A lot of it is just about, hey, is your seed, is your legacy gonna be here 2-3 generations from now, or were you a one-trick pony? So once again, whoever 4B movement, you know, women want to shave their heads, or these other guys that want to, you know, do whatever. It's like, hey, you know, the white dudes for Harris, the soy boys, you know, whoever it is. If you want to Darwin yourself out of existence, you go right ahead. You know, I'll be having a family and doing what I can to continue our legacy, in whatever ways possible. You know, when the left or the elites tell you not to have kids because the rainforest or, you know, the water is gonna kill everybody, you know, the climate's gonna kill us in 5 years, I do the opposite. You know, when they say, hey, don't eat meat anymore because, you know, it's gonna kill the earth, I do the opposite. So I feel like we have to, there's just ways that they're finding ways to just what's the word I'm looking for, to just, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, like a to scour to skewer you out of existence, to Darwin you out of existence, to make you a little subservient, scurry away. I'm just like, screw that. I'm gonna do what I can to continue. Yeah, I'm gonna have kids. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do what I can to have a legacy and not just, you know, in my tree right here, you know. So long story short. All right, y'all. Next topic. How you doing on time, conspiracy brother?
We're doing good.
Good. Okay, cool. All right. So next topic. Got to talk about this. Yep. So once again, you can see the big outlets are not even going to cover this, but we all know it's already came out about Kamala Harris paying for these celebrity endorsements. He had statements come out. I think Savvy Sabs did a good video of payments being sent to Al Sharpton, Roland Martin, Oprah Winfrey, and they say, "Oh, it's going toward charity." Oh, no, it's going toward advertising. $1 million went to Oprah's company, Harpo Productions. $350,000, through the SEC filing was shown to go to Roland Martin's company, New Vision Media, for $350,000. So it's been coming out the woodwork. All these different celebrities, the Cardi B's, the Glorilla, the Megan Stallions of the world, these people you hold in such high regard. I think Beyonce got 2-3 million, something like that. And you're wondering why people wonder why celebrity influencers no longer have the influence. They couldn't sway an election. Oh, here we go. 5 million to Meg the Stallion, 3 million to Lizzo, 1.8 for Eminem. They built, six figures, $100,000 to build the this kind of goes in, that they spent 100 days, spent $100 billion, all the Act Blue folks, all the Democrats, and they're still fundraising. Kamala's trying to do like a recount campaign. They just want to keep grifting. So I just think this is hilarious, and people just your girl lost, and your money has been getting blown toward these paid people. They're paid to endorse. So if you don't wake up to that already, like, what credibility do these influencers have left? Like, when people realize, hey, they were just being paid to do that. It was a money grab, but I can go on. But conspiracy brother, we shouldn't be shocked, but people just got to learn the hard way,
Yeah, it's it makes sense to me because she had no organic support in 2019. And she didn't have any organic support in 2023 or 2020 or 21 or 22. And I don't see how all of a sudden you go from being the least popular vice president in the least popular administration in modern times, at least, maybe even in American history, one of the least popular presidents and administrations, to being all of a sudden the greatest thing since sliced bread. So what does that say? That even people who you would have thought were Democratic voters or supporters genuinely were not willing to support you without financial compensation, or at the very least that you thought that they were not willing to support you without financial compensation. Right? Oprah, Lizzo, Meg the Stallion, Beyonce, Mark Hamill, the Avengers. I mean, you raised $1 billion in what, 3 days? She raised $1 billion in 3 days. And then in about 100 days.
Over the 100 days. Yeah.
She raised that in 100 days? She raised $1 billion in 100 days? Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, yeah, she raised that billion on the course of like 3 days. And over about 100-day election cycle for her, she went from $1 billion to $20 million in the hole. And if you just break that down, let's see. 1,000,000,000. Let's see, because I want to get the exact number. 100,000, 1, 2, 3. So this should be a billion divided by okay. So the math didn't do what I wanted to do. But if you look at $1 billion, okay, I just did the math on $1 billion. I divided it by 365. So in order for you to spend $1 billion in a year, you got to spend $2.7 million a day. That's how much you got to do to spend that in 365 days. If you want to just, and I think she ended up actually spending about $1.5 billion, but we'll just leave it at $1 billion. To spend that in 100 days, you had to spend $10 million a day. You know how crazy that is? If you just spent $1 million a day of $1 billion, it would take you a little less than 3 years to go through it all at $1 million a day. And you managed to spend $1 billion, $1.5 billion in 100 days or so, and actually end up $20 million in the hole. That's the kind of mismanagement of funds that normal people can't get away with. You know, that's the kind of thing that happens to a person who's never had a real job in their life and has never had to really be mindful of what they spend and how they spend it. People have tried to make the, this is why she couldn't be in charge of the national whatever, because look how she manages her campaign money. I'm not even going to hit that. That's a low hanging fruit. But how out of touch do you have to be to spend that much money that quickly and then still lose? You know what I'm saying? I can't hear you if you're still there. But, this is a ridiculous situation to be in. And you had to pay these people who, were your supporters, or at least we thought were your supporters, in order to be able to get them to speak nicely about you for an election that everywhere you turned, we were presented with this as being the most important and serious, life-changing, democracy-saving election in our lifetimes. So, I don't know if you're still there. I don't hear you. But even like, since you brought up Roland Martin, you brought up Oprah Winfrey, right? So Oprah tried to say that she wasn't paid. Somebody said, were you paid like $2 million or whatever? And she said, no, I wasn't paid. And it turned out it was her production company. And Roland Martin's production company received like $350,000. And so, even you had to be paid out of the kindness of, and really this gets down to the bottom of it. I think Tim Black talked about this a lot. But when it gets down to the bottom of it all is these people who are upset Angela Rye, your Joyanne Reeds, your Bakari sellers, they're not upset because they actually have they actually have they're not upset because
can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Do you hear echo?
Slightly.
Okay, I had to jump on another one.
Okay,
but yeah,
I don't hear the echo now.
all right, cool. So I have one account up with the screen share. But yeah, I was just to kind of get your point. I mean, even I give credit Umar Johnson. I don't agree with him on everything, but he even turned down. They tried to come to him. Democrats tried to come to him and say, "Hey, yeah, we'll pay you to interview." You know, they will pay you, Umar, to interview Kamala Harris. And he was like, "We need to do a live stream, and I need an hour, at least an hour or two." And they basically turned him down because he was like, "No, we're not going to do no pre-recorded. Ask get pre-selected questions. We want to." He wanted to do it his way, and they were like, "No, you got to do it like this," and he turned it down because he knew what was up. He knew what they were trying to do. And Sabby Saz brought up a good point just on how, like, it's just the fact that your integrity just goes out the window when the podcast host is paying the celebrity to come on, celebrity paying them to go on that show. All your credibility is burned to the ground. That's just 101, like, credibility, reputation killer. So I just want to kind of throw that point in there, and
Well,
we shouldn't be shocked by this.
well, yeah, and even like you brought up Dr. Umar, so he said that. He said, Ricky Smiley, he called out Ricky Smiley. I can't remember if he called out D.L. Hughley. I think he did. And he called out Steve Harvey. And he said, I know she's paying y'all to say all this nice stuff about her. Just she offered me 10,000 or whatever. And I know she's paying y'all or she's offering you guys money. Don't do it or have integrity, tell everybody or something. And Steve Harvey tried to make a joke and say, can't nobody make me do nothing for $10,000. And so he completely tried to diffuse the situation by not acknowledging what Dr. Umar was saying, but trying to, draw attention to the fact that, $10,000 is not any money to him. But if she's giving Eminem millions and Lizzo millions and Beyonce millions, if she needs to offer Steve Harvey $1 million, $500,000, she'll do that. And so Steve never actually refuted what Umar was saying. He just tried to say, $10,000, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do that. But he never said he wasn't being paid or that he didn't get paid more than that. And so again, we have people who are invested in their own careers and their own self-interest, the Boule class. They're interested in their own, and we talked about this extensively. They want to hope to get, she's a sorority sister, she's the Divine Nine member. Maybe I'll get a job in her cabinet or her administration,
Yep.
or doing something in her White House. Right. And so they don't have any actual allegiance to helping the Black community or allowing the Black community to, even speak to Kamala Harris and voice actual grievances and policy demands, because they're so stuck on making sure that they get their butter biscuit, they don't say anything. You know what I'm saying? But even like when we talked about what's the Divine Nine and all that stuff. I'm drawing a blank on the guy now. But yeah, it's unfortunate that it goes this way. Oh, I remember now. Somebody did a breakdown, and when you look at her staff, her online staff, and her campaign staff, there was like hardly any Black people in it. So you have this woman who wants you to believe that she's got such a connection to the Black community and that she's Black and she wants whatever. And like hardly anybody who worked for her campaign was Black.
And not to mention the 92% turnover rate of her staff over the past 3.5 years. So maybe there were a couple sisters in there and they didn't make the cut. But yeah, just to prove your point.
Right. So, we can. I'll let you take it.
All right. Yeah. So
Got a little echo.
because I got my computer going. Okay, that's better. All right. So all right, yeah, so good stuff. Yeah, this is just more of the same, what we come to expect. And once again, we can't overlook the fact that on the right side, on the right, yeah, there were maybe a couple backdoor deals with conservative influences here and there, but from the most part, what you at least got to give Trump credit for with him, he went. They're calling him. They're reigning him. They're calling him the first podcast president. How he went to these platforms, and once again, I can't. I don't think. I think at some point, I think there was some level of maybe paying them to go on to a Trump's team or made a donation. But either way, these people weren't coming out and just doing flat out endorsements of Trump. You had a lot of these younger guys, these younger influencers on YouTube, bringing them in, introducing them to their audience. I think it was something where the Trump campaign overall, they spent like about $10 million on just staffing. Um, obviously advertising, that's different. But you just kind of saw apples and apples comparison on at least how they managed their campaign versus this one. And then once again, I got to once again like the fact that Kamala stood up Umar Johnson, which I know she wasn't about to do. She stood up Joe Rogan, wasn't about to sit 2 to 3 hours in front of either one of them. And then of course JD swoops in and takes her spot. So just one blunder after another, where she's kind of hiding behind this wall of Act Blue money, where they can just basically manufacture whatever sort of reality and microcosm of this Kamala mania, they've been in since July. And we slowly start to see their emperor's clothes come off. The emperor has no clothes. Who is the man behind that curtain? It's the wizard. And yeah, this is just another example of what we all knew or we could see coming. Everything from them buying bots to uh, lift up left wing pundits that are pushing, the Democrat candidates. So, it's nothing new. So yeah, let's gotta move on to our second to the last topic. I want to try and make sure we hit on this because we got this one, and then we got Mike Duggan and Gretchen Whitmer that's last. So we're about an hour 30 in, so be a little bit of a shorter show, but we're going to wrap up with these two topics. All right, so Kevin Shipp recently, who was a former CIA officer, he was interviewed on Candace Owens' podcast, and yeah, it was a showstopper. It was definitely, uh, it definitely had once again a lot of things that we already know. But I think it's just a great way that this sort of information has come mainstream because Candace Owens is mainstream whether you like her or not. So on this episode, she did a great job of really talking with this guy and Kevin Shipp, former CIA officer. I don't know. Have you had a chance? Did you get a chance, Conspiracy Brother, listen to that one? Check it out.
I listened to some of it, but I didn't get a chance to listen to a lot of it.
Okay. So, this guy goes over everything from like 9/11, Pearl Harbor, FBI, MLK, Janet Jackson, MLK, Malcolm X assassination. So it's a really good step. So just right here, once again, former CIA officer Kevin Shipp discusses the deep state, the dark inner workings of the CIA, everything else he learned during his 17 years at the agency, by his new book, Twilight of the Shadow Government, how transparency. When you do your job at these bureaucrat agencies, you just become an organic whistleblower, just by trying to do your job. And just the levels of him like covering stuff, like, hey, I'm gonna send this up the chain or the ladder. Oh, we didn't receive it. Okay, let me send that email again. I'll call you back. Oh, we never received it. all right, let me actually fly into Langley and drop off these findings that I found. All right, I dropped them off to you. And then I call you back the next day. Oh, we don't have those. So he would come across things like that. Um, he really went in deep on just basically the fact with Pearl Harbor, how that was pretty much orchestrated to go to war. Same way with 9/11. We kind of all know that. But a lot of this stuff I kind of already know. I think conspiracy brother, but it's just more and more confirmation. It's just more and more like this is what we've been saying. This is what Operation Mockingbird he mentions still alive and well. But yeah, it's a deep one, because I don't even remember like everything about it, but yeah, it went in. So I guess conspiracy brother, any thoughts you maybe have on just I guess the topic in general, because it's something that we already are well aware of, but it's good to get more and more eyeballs on this stuff.
Um, it's I mean, yes, it's nothing that I'm surprised about. This is why it was so funny. Well, not funny, how funny, but funny like really when all the Democrats were, the FBI and the CIA, and it's like, bro, the FBI and the CIA have never been organizations that I've been particularly fond of. A lot of my heroes were targeted by the FBI and the CIA.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, they love it
like,
when they on Trump's head, though. They love it when they on Trump's head.
yeah. And so
FBI
that's
is
the thing for me.
heroes. Yeah.
It's just weird. It's weird to me. It's just really weird to me that that they were all behind it when they were going after Trump and stuff, and completely overlooking again, like I was saying, when you have the Democratic Party now supporting the FBI and the CIA because they are attacking Trump. It's just again, it fuels that rightward shift in the country, and it's a really weird and to me, it's an obvious sign of some nefarious things going on in the background. But yeah, I mean, yes, there is some shadow government stuff going on, and we'll see as Trump's cabinet is nominated and the Senate confirms them after the after inauguration. What how much he's willing to actually go against these people, or if he really just wanted to be president so he could prove that he could win twice. We'll see.
Yeah. And also want to give a shout out. I know we had None Dare Call It Conspiracy, a frequent recurring guest. Thanks for popping in, saying hi. I'm here earlier. And then we also have Krista jumping in, saying hi. Appreciate it. Hey, fam. So we'll give a shout out to our listeners and viewers. But yeah, this is it ain't the moment of truth. It ain't the year of truth for nothing. I mean, I'll tell you, Cat Williams, there's some stuff that's crazy. There's some really stuff he's been hitting on this year. But I even did a couple videos on, was Cat what right? Just 2024, the year of truth. And it's looking that way more and more. I don't know if that nigga got a crystal ball or whatnot, but it's definitely a lot of revelations we're seeing this year. Continue to be exposed, just Diddy aside. So yeah, we just got to continue to remember that the government's not our friends. And even the one thing I do agree with, I mean, many things I actually agree with President Reagan on, but even his quote, I think we can all agree. The quote was the 10 most dangerous words. Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. No, thank you. But I'll leave it at that. All right. All right, cool. So we're about to be wrapping it up here. But since we're local, we're actually from the certain Michigan persuasion. We'd like to at least kind of stay on tune with local events in our area. And we have here Mayor Mike Duggan not seeking re-election. And we want to kind of couple this last topic with Gretchen Whitmer. So we'll see if we can see if I can pull up Gretchen Whitmer and Mike Duggan together. They might be in an article. But yeah, this is the news that came out, I think, last week or a few days right after Trump was reelected. How about that? When they had an emergency meeting, Detroit City Council had an emergency meeting like the night of his election, of Trump's reelection. So now all of a sudden he's not seeking a fourth term, you know? So is this the because one of the Friday lecture series through 180 Church, they expose a lot called Souls to the Polls. And they've done a lot of exposing on a lot of the corruption going on in the city, and Duggan being tied to, using the land bank rules for the city, residents out and get more of this corporate owned land. And then him working with Biden, like him and Biden like are really tight together. So is there any coincidence with that? I mean, Mike Duggan retiring, and then we'll finally get to Gretchen Whitmer. So Conspiracy Brother, your thoughts on this interesting, very convenient, I'm not going to run for re-election, like less than a week after Trump wins re-election. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting that he's decided not to run again, but in a lot of ways, maybe this is an admission that, maybe he's got some shady stuff.
The first write-in candidate to win mayor of Detroit, that enough people wrote in his name. They filled in the dot and they spelled his name correctly, and he wins in a landslide almost. But
right,
I'm just
yeah. I mean, it's definitely some weird stuff. Then you had the thing come out just recently when he was Wayne County prosecutor. They did not secure. They didn't secure the genetic, the DNA information they were supposed to keep for like 40 years.
Yeah,
They didn't
Kim Worthy.
They properly destroyed it. Right.
Yeah.
And Kim Worthy knew about it, but she didn't report it sooner. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of corruption. All these city governments, there's so much corruption. It's kind of weird that there aren't more investigations. And I think some of that, they're afraid that Trump might open some investigations, especially.
I got two words. The two most terrifying words they don't want to hear: forensic audit. Forensic audit.
Yeah. And all this stuff is like what do they say? A not so secret or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, you like you said with Whitmer, where she's kind of changing her tune about, I'm not a part of that governor. The governor is trying to antagonize Trump or whatever. I think legitimately, if Tudor Dixon hadn't been running against her in 2022, she might not have won re-election for governor. Honestly.
How do you figure that though? Do you think if there was like a stronger Republican candidate that ran against?
I think James Craig would have beat her.
Who?
Craig, the police chief, former Detroit police chief. Yeah, I think he actually would have given her. Right. I think he would have actually given her a competition, because I think he might have been able to get more of the Black Detroit vote, and I think he might have had a larger suburban turnout for him over her. But I think Tudor Dixon was just like who was looking at her,
right?
You know what I'm saying? What has she done? What does she do that would make anybody vote for her? And
Yeah, she
so,
kind of had a sort of plant vibes where she was kind of, and she kind of had some other sort of Republican establishment money behind her, just from what I remember, reading about or hearing about at the time. Also,
yeah,
honorable mention of Donna Brandenburg. She was more kind of like a old school Tea Party independent candidate, but she didn't really get much of enough steam. And she tried to kind of run as a write-in. I would have took her over Tudor Dixon. But I do agree, James Craig has more of the name recognition, at least through the city residents. So I do agree that's a good point. Like he would have, but basically, did he not make? He didn't get enough votes in the primary, or did he get shut out?
no. So what ended up happening? Tudor Dixon, they said like a Democrat, I don't know, Democrat donor or some political action committee actually funded uh, an audit of his signatures,
Mm-hmm.
and they determined that whatever proportion of his signatures were not they were fraudulent or something. So he had to recover all these signatures so close to when the election was or the primary was that he essentially was locked out of the race. And Tudor Dixon was behind it. And she wanted him to be her running mate. He said he wasn't going to do that. And so that's what happened. He never even got a chance to be. It was like 3 or 4 candidates who were on the ballot who all claimed to, and it was a company that they used to actually gather the signatures, because I think in Michigan you got to have 35,000 signatures to be on the ballot for statewide election, or it's either 35 signatures or that's for governor, and it's like every other one is like if you run for state house or a state senate, it's like a proportion of the district that you need, a certain percentage of the district that you need in order to do it. And he hired a company to gather his signatures, and might have been some shady stuff with that company or something with Tudor Dixon, so that's why he never got to the ballot.
Oh, okay. Thanks for that context. I wasn't aware of that side of the story. Just remember little bits and pieces from that time. But yeah, that's all. I hope James Craig, is he what's he doing now? Is he still in the city politics, or is he still fighting good fight?
I think he was mulling over a run for Senate, but I am not sure what he's I'm not sure what he's doing. I think he was looking at running again for Detroit. I mean, not Detroit, for governor, but I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, James Craig and maybe even a Hill Harper. I know Hill Harper kind of, he kind of earned my respect a little bit when he turned down that bribe from Rashid Tlaib's camp. But I don't know if he's just laying low or maybe thinking about another run. But we got some good, there's some got some soldiers out there that I don't maybe fully agree with all their stances, but let's just hope, come Whitmer's what's her term back up? 2028?
I think 26.
26. Okay, well, let's hope. But this brings us to our last topic. Once again, this Fox 2 Detroit article came out. Basically, the other Democrat governors, they're forming their little coalition. These were the same people that were like, "Oh my God, Greg Abbott, how dare you defy the president's orders," when he was trying to keep, control the the flow of legal migrants, using his state guard. Now they're now doing the exact same thing he was doing, but they don't find an issue doing it. Democrat privilege, of course. So now they're all claiming that, hey, we're not going to follow the state order or the federal orders, when Trump launches his deportation agenda. So you have Gretchen Whitmer over here, oddly enough, playing nice, just playing it neutral. I don't know. Part of me, bro, it's like I'd rather see the communist mask come off. I'd rather see like a Gavin Newsom and all these super just out there governors who are just like, no, we're not gonna fight. We want all that. We want to protect our voter base investment. I'd rather see that, so I at least know where they're staying. I don't know. Part of me, Whitmer playing this sort of nice, yeah, I'm gonna play ball. I'm a little more worried, like, what is she up to? But conspiracy brother, I just want to kind of get your final thoughts on this, so we can kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, I think they got a Republican House now in Michigan, so they don't have the majority in all three. Well, not three, but in the legislature and the executive. And so I think she's just understanding that if she wants anything to happen, the last essentially 2 years of her term, she's got to play nice. And I think, it's also some potential for investigations because just like Andrew Cuomo sent people with COVID into the nursing homes, she did the same thing here. And I think even more people actually here than they did in New York.
Okay. They're gonna be looking into that.
There was a little bit of misuse of campaign funds and stuff when she was doing all that travel. Some donor was letting her use his private plane. Charlie LaDuff did a lot of investigation on that. You can find him on NBN, the No BS News Hour. He goes into a lot of detail, but it's a lot of corruption in the state of Michigan. I think, if the Trump administration is actually interested in, exacting some revenge, he can do it and it'll be completely above board because there's enough corruption actually going on to investigate it. But again, that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, but let's hope. I know we got some people, some friends of the show / people in different organizations. They're going to the Capitol. They're coming from Detroit, Michigan. They're going to meet with House Rep Jim Jordan, and they're opening up these FOIA requests for a lot of even local corruption that we saw in the most recent elections. We've had people get up and kind of speak to this stuff. So there's boots on the ground. There's people looking into this stuff. So I just think it's very interesting, and we shall see what happens. We're just, we don't make up the truth. We just report it, or we just try and get to the bottom of it. So God forbid. But yeah, that's all I got, y'all. Great show, Conspiracy Brother. I think, these are some good topics of the day. Who knows what's going to happen next week? But we will be back. Next week is Thanksgiving, so obviously we're going to take. So we'll be back 2 Sundays from now. I believe is the 8th. Yep, we'll be back Sunday, December 8th. Unless anything changes. Conspiracy Brother, anything else before we close it out?
No, I don't have anything else. I guess I do. Contact your Congress people and talk to them about this posture with Russia for Ukraine. I don't personally have any interest in losing my life over Ukraine. I would not care if Ukraine was literally blown off the map because, that's a dispute between neighboring countries with probably 1,000-year history with each other. It has nothing to do with me or this country. And if any of these politicians are interested in this, I think they ought to go and fight. It reminds me, the International Criminal Court, the ICC, has said that they're going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. They have an arrest warrant for him. And so I think it's interesting that
Oh yeah.
like Lindsey Graham and what's his name?
I hope they come for his ass too. Yeah, Lindsey Graham, all the little war hogs.
Well,
I don't know who else you talking about.
Lindsey Graham was saying if any countries arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, then he's going to personally sanction them and all this stuff. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about?
Wait, so Lindsey Graham's claiming whoever tries to arrest Netanyahu, he's gonna
if Canada does it, if the UK does it, if Germany does it, if France does it. So, even if there are allies, he's going to make them, he's going to sanction them. He's going to try to destroy their economies, and going to make their lives hell, basically.
Oh, he capping hard for Izzy. Capping hard for Izzy. All right. Yep. All right. It's about to get interesting. Hopefully, we'll be here in 2 weeks and we won't just be a pile of smoking ash. But things are getting very interesting. And Biden, just sent some new approved missiles. What type of missiles he sent over to Israel, or just he did something?
Attack them. They're attack them. But the issue with those, so Russia, the U.S., the U.K., France, Germany, they're all either they have sent or are going to send weapons to Ukraine to be able to fire long-range attacks deep inside Russia, pre-2014 border, so not any of the contested areas in the Donetsk or Lugansk or whatever. And so Russia saying, in order for them to use these weapons, they need U.S. involvement or specialists from these various countries to be able to actually use these weapons. And so they're saying that if any of these weapons are used to attack within Russia, Russia will consider these countries party to the conflict, to essentially to this war that's going on, and they will respond. And as I said earlier, they've got a missile that travels at 3,000 kilometers a second. So that's like going from here to California. It moves that quickly. Not quite, because 1 kilometer is 0.6 miles. So it's not exactly half, but it's about 1,500 miles per second that this thing travels. And so, it's Mach 10 speed, so 10 times the speed of sound. And we don't have anything. There's no weapon system or missile defense system has been created that can actually protect against it. So if he decides to hit here in the U.S., if he decides to hit anywhere in the U.K., France, Germany, wherever in Western Europe, it's going to hit because it moves too fast. And the threat is that they can be nuclear. They can be armed with nuclear warheads. And so that would make things a lot more difficult for the world, or at least for the Western world. And these idiots are still posturing in a way that they feel like they have some control. And we need to try to get out into the streets or contact your members of Congress, your representatives, your senators, and let them know, that they need dial this down. There's a Congress member from Texas who is going to, he was claiming he was going to introduce articles of impeachment under the 25th Amendment for Joe Biden. I don't know if he's doing that or if he's going to do that. But again, Sebastian Gorka, who was in the next administration, has threatened Russia with more aid to Ukraine if Putin doesn't want to negotiate. And so, again, it's just a crazy situation that we're looking at with a lot of crazy people, and we're all in the crosshair. So,
yeah, well put. Incredible times we're in. So I don't know. I just can't. We'll just leave it there, buddy. We have to stay vigilant, stay awake, not woke. And yeah, definitely call your congressman, because this is escalating to World War III in ways we haven't seen. So let's not let it get to that. Even though we're here, let's not let it get worse. But yeah, I'm your co-host, Conspiracy Brother. Conservative Brother Daily. Conspiracy Brother, thank you again. We're at 35 episodes, almost on our way to 40. And before you know it, we'll be celebrating episode 50. So appreciate everybody that listens, no matter how big or small our audience is. We still appreciate you. And yeah, we just got to keep bringing the truth, say what has to be said, what's uncomfortable. Because if nobody else says it, then we need to. So that's all I got, conspiracy brother.
Oh, well, again, you don't have to sit and be a bystander to your own destruction. We can be involved. We can be agitated for change. We can let the global population see that we aren't supportive of escalation. We do not want World War III. We need to make these people who have authorized this, we need to make their lives a living hell whenever we know where they are. Like the Democrats would have you, Maxine Waters was trying to tell you, when the Trump administration officials are doing this, then, you need to make, when they're going out to dinner and stuff. But this is a situation when that's important. Nuclear war is a big deal. It's not somebody's pronouns. It's not somebody's political ideology. Not necessarily. This is direct action. It isn't related to political ideology because it's neoconservative empire building that has caused many Americans so much problems, especially our generation. How many people do we know who've been in the military, who have been damaged mentally and physically as a result of U.S. foreign policy? But, so just get active in any way you can because, we might not have another chance. So with that, I'm out.
All right. I'm out too. See you guys next time. Stay awake, not woke. See ya.
Peace.